80 samurai stood on the beach of Komoda, flesh and blood warriors staring at a horizon darkening with 20,000 Mongol soldiers. The shores of Tsushima Island were about to become a slaughterhouse. It was November 18th, 1274, and the samurai world as they knew it had exactly 3 hours left to exist. But this massacre did not begin with blood. It began with a letter 7 years earlier. The letters that changed everything in 1267. A messenger arrived on Japanese shores carrying a document sealed with the imperial seal of Kublai Khan. This was no ordinary ruler. He was the most powerful man on earth, grandson of Genghis Khan, emperor of conquered China, subjugator of Korea, and master of the largest empire the world had ever witnessed. Now his eyes turned toward 4 islands to the east, the land the Mongols called the Realm of the Rising Sun. The message was brutally straightforward. It explained that since ancient times, rulers of smaller nations had sought friendly relations with great powers. Having conquered China and Korea, the Khan now extended his hand toward Japanese shores. The letter demanded ambassadors and tribute, or Japan would face consequences. This was not an invitation, it was a death sentence. The Kamakura shogunate, the military government controlling Japan, read the letter carefully. Then they did something unprecedented in Mongol diplomatic history. They ignored it completely. No ambassadors, no tribute, not even a polite refusal, just absolute silence. Kublai Khan was unaccustomed to being ignored. He sent another letter, then another, then more. For 6 years, Mongol messengers crossed the Sea of Japan carrying increasingly threatening messages. 6 years of warnings dismissed. 6 years of opportunities wasted. 6 years of Japan essentially telling the world's mightiest empire that they had no interest in friendship, commerce, or vassalage. Preparation for invasion while Japan maintained its proud silence, Kublai Khan was preparing something the Japanese could not imagine. In Korean ports, specifically at Masan and Hakata Bay, an invasion fleet was under construction. 900 warships would transport 15,000 Mongol and Chinese warriors, plus 8,000 Korean soldiers conscripted into service. This force of 23,000 men carried weapons Japan had never seen, and employed tactics they did not understand. The Mongols did not fight with honor, they fought to win. They used poison on their arrows, attacked in coordinated groups, and never announced their names before striking. Most terrifyingly, they possessed gunpowder bombs, iron spheres filled with explosives launched from catapults. When these weapons detonated, metal fragments flew in every direction, shredding flesh and bone. The sound was deafening, and the psychological effect devastating. Japan knew nothing of this. While the Mongols built their armada, samurai trained with katanas, perfected their archery, and meditated on honor and dignified death. They had no idea that honor was about to become irrelevant. The fall of Tsushima in October 1274, the fleet departed from Korea. 900 ships sailed eastward towards Tsushima Island, the gateway to Japan positioned between Korea and the main island of Kyushu. Conquering Tsushima would provide a base for the final assault. Tsushima was defended by approximately 80 permanent samurai under Governor So Sukekuni. These warriors had families, protected peasants, maintained temples, and cultivated rice paddies. Their way of life had existed for generations. On November 18, they saw the horizon darken. It was not a storm, it was sails, hundreds upon hundreds of sails. The Mongol fleet appeared like a nightmare made real. Sukekuni climbed to a cliff and observed. He counted the ships, but could not count them all. There were too many. He understood basic mathematics. 80 against thousands. The options were clear. Surrender, flee to Kyushu to warn the shogunate, or do the unthinkable. Stay, fight, and die. Sukekuni knew that if no one resisted, the shogunate would not understand the scale of the threat. They would not know this was a full-scale invasion, not a pirate raid. He chose to stay and fight, sending a message that would take days to reach Kyushu, but would be unmistakable. Japan was under attack, and the enemy was unstoppable. The Mongol fleet landed at Komoda beach. Warriors leaped from boats into the water, and the nightmare materialized for the samurai. These were not individual warriors seeking honorable duels. They were a military machine advancing in formation, shields forward, archers behind, moving as a single organism. The 80 samurai charged as they always had. One warrior named Takazaki Suenaga rode to the front, shouting his name and lineage, expecting a Mongol warrior to respond and engage in single combat. Instead, he received a rain of arrows. The Mongols did not hesitate. They simply fired. Hundreds of arrows darkened the sky. Suinaga felt 3 impacts almost simultaneously. One in his shoulder, another in his thigh, and a third killed his horse. He fell, rolled in the sand, wounded and confused. Where was the honor? Where was the fair combat? It did not exist. A fellow samurai named Shiroshi Michiyasu saw the scene and rode directly toward the Mongol lines, shouting and creating a distraction. The Mongols turned and fired. Michiyasu fell, but in those crucial seconds, Suinaga managed to crawl away from the battlefield. He would survive as one of the few direct witnesses to the slaughter. The 80 samurai were being massacred. This was not a battle, but an organized execution. When a samurai charged, 10 Mongols surrounded him, attacking from all angles. No duels, no honor, only brutal efficiency. Then the samurai heard something they had never heard before. A sharp whistle in the air, followed by an explosion that shook the earth. The gunpowder bombs flew through the air, launched from the Mongol ships. When they impacted, they exploded with deafening noise. Fire erupted. Metal fragments flew in all directions like 1,000 invisible knives. Horses panicked. Men screamed. Some samurai believed it was magic or the thunder of gods. It was worse. It was technology. Sukekuni watched his men fall one by one. He took his katana and charged directly toward the center of the Mongol formation. His remaining men followed. 23 samurai made the final desperate charge, screaming and brandishing their swords as they hurled themselves against a wall of shields and spears. None survived. The battle lasted less than 3 hours. 80 samurai dead. The Mongols suffered minimal casualties, perhaps 100 men. It was such a complete massacre that the Mongols did not even consider it a real battle. For them, it was a warm-up. Terror and conquest the Mongols controlled the beach and began the real invasion of Tsushima. They divided their forces, advancing inland while others secured the coast and built fortifications. The villagers heard Mongol war drums echoing in the hills. Some families fled to forests and caves. Others attempted escape in small boats toward Kyushu. Many did not succeed. The Mongols patrolled nearby waters and captured those who tried to flee. The Mongol brutality revealed itself in full magnitude. They had perfected a tactic of psychological terror over 40 years of conquests, ensuring that survivors told stories so terrifying that no one would want to fight. They took hundreds of prisoners, including women, children, elderly, and priests. They pierced the palms of their hands, passed ropes through the holes, and hung the prisoners from the sides of their ships like human banners. Some prisoners were decapitated, their heads piled on the beach as warnings. The Mongols kept macabre records, counting severed ears of dead enemies to register victories. It was a bureaucratic system of genocide. Tsushima fell completely in 2 days. The few remaining samurai in remote villages attempted resistance. They fought and died without epic poetry or glory, just blood in the mud and unburied bodies. The first divine wind before dying, Sukekuni managed to send a message. A rider escaped during the first hours of attack, crossed the strait to Kyushu, and reached Zaifu with news that seemed impossible. An immense fleet, thousands of warriors, weapons that exploded like thunder. Tsushima had fallen. The Mongols continued to Iki Island, where approximately 120 samurai under Taira Kagetaka prepared defences. Kagetaka knew what happened at Tsushima. He organised barricades, positioned archers in the hills, and evacuated women and children. But against 20,000 Mongols, it was futile. Iki fell in a day. The same atrocities followed. 2 islands, 200 warriors annihilated in less than a week. The fleet now headed toward Kyushu, the heart of Japan. On November 23, the 900 ships arrived at Hakata Bay. It was the largest landing in Japanese history. 20,000 Mongol warriors faced 3,000 scattered samurai. The mathematics were brutal. But something had changed. The Kyushu samurai had days to prepare. They had heard reports and knew traditional tactics would not work. For the first time, Japanese samurai had to adapt or die. They fought in coordinated waves, not as individuals. The Mongols advanced and paid a price for every kilometre. The beach became a mutual slaughterhouse. Night fell, with the Mongols controlling the coast but not penetrating deeply. Then the sky changed. Clouds turned black. Wind began blowing from the sea with force that bent trees. A typhoon, a Pacific hurricane forming for days in open waters, struck Hakata Bay with absolute fury. Waves grew to 10 meters. The 900 anchored ships began crashing into each other. The wind pushed them, waves dragged them. Ships smashed against rocks and split in half. Warriors sleeping on deck were thrown into the water. Those below deck were trapped when vessels sank. The ocean swallowed hundreds of ships within hours. In the darkness, unable to see 3 meters ahead, the Mongols heard something worse than the storm. Samurai attacked, exploiting the chaos. They knew the terrain, moved through darkness like ghosts, fell upon Mongol camps, killed, disappeared, and attacked again elsewhere. Dawn on November 24 revealed an apocalyptic vision. The coast was covered with wreckage, floating corpses, and overturned ships. Of 900 vessels, perhaps 300 remained afloat. The Mongol commander ordered immediate retreat. Survivors boarded remaining ships, abandoning equipment and wounded. The battered fleet sailed back toward Korea. Of 20,000 warriors who arrived, approximately 13,000 returned. 7,000 dead. Not from glorious battles, but from a storm. The Japanese gave that wind a name. They called it kamikaze, divine wind, sent by the gods to protect Japan from foreign invasion. It was the birth of a national myth lasting 7 centuries. The second invasion Kublai Khan was not finished. The 1274 invasion was merely a test. He ordered construction of an even larger fleet. Not 900 ships, but 4,500. Not 20,000 warriors, but 140,000. The largest invasion the world had seen in centuries. In Japan, the shogunate ordered total mobilization. Defensive walls rose along the entire Kyushu coast. 2-meter stone structures surrounding Hakata Bay. Thousands of workers, peasants forced into labor, built fortifications for years. In 1281, the fleet departed as 2 separate armadas. The first, 900 ships with 40,000 Mongol and Korean warriors, sailed from Korea. The second, 3,600 ships with 100,000 Chinese soldiers, departed from southern China. The plan was for both fleets to meet off Kyushu and attack simultaneously. From the beginning, everything went wrong. The Korean fleet arrived first and attacked immediately without waiting. They found prepared resistance. The Japanese had evacuated civilians and left only garrisons trained specifically for guerrilla combat. When the Mongols reached Hakata, they saw the walls, 2 meters of solid stone surrounding the entire bay. Behind the walls, thousands of samurai archers waited. There was no way to land without suffering massive casualties. The Mongol commander ordered frontal assault anyway. They attempted to cross under a rain of arrows. Some reached the walls and tried to climb. Samurai pushed them back with spears. Bodies piled at the base of the walls. The Mongols retreated to their ships, realizing they could not take Hakata by direct assault. They needed the Chinese fleet. But the Chinese fleet was delayed. Storms in the East China Sea, logistical problems. The 40,000 men waited, trapped on ships anchored off hostile coast. Days passed, then weeks. Summer heat was brutal. Fresh water became scarce. Provisions dwindled. Men fell ill with dysentery and fevers. Meanwhile, samurai organized night attacks. Small boats with 10 or 20 warriors approached the Mongol fleet in darkness, boarded ships, killed crews, set fire to sails, and escaped before reinforcements arrived. The Mongols called them demons. They attacked at night, killed silently, disappeared. It was terrifying. Finally, in mid-July, the Chinese fleet arrived. The Mongol commander decided to wait a few more days to regroup and plan the coordinated attack. On August 14, the sky darkened again. Another typhoon, larger than 7 years before, struck Hakata Bay with full fury. Waves reached 15 to 20 meters. Mountains of water lifted ships like toys and smashed them against rocks. The storm lasted 2 days. When it finally subsided on August 16, the bay resembled a cemetery. Thousands of corpses floated in the water. Of 4,500 ships, fewer than 300 remained navigable. Survivors were trapped without ships, food or water. Some tried to surrender. The samurai executed them. No prisoners. Not after Tsushima. Not after the bodies hanging from ships. Not after the pierced hands. Of 140,000 warriors who departed from China and Korea, approximately 20,000 returned. 120,000 dead. The most catastrophic naval defeat in history until that moment. Legacy of the divine wind Kublai Khan received the news in his palace in Dedu, modern Beijing. He ordered execution of surviving commanders and construction of a third fleet, but it never sailed. Costs were too high. The empire's resources were exhausted. China was bankrupt after building 2 giant fleets that ended at the ocean bottom. The Mongols, who conquered half the world, became afraid of the Japanese sea. Sailors told stories that Japanese gods protected those waters, that any fleet attempting invasion would be destroyed. The superstition spread. No Mongol commander wanted to lead a third invasion. Kublai Khan died in 1294. His dream of conquering Japan died with him. For the next 650 years until World War II, no foreign power attempted to invade Japan. In Japan, the kamikaze became national myth. Temples celebrated it, priests preached it, samurai invoked it. The gods protect Japan. This belief would last centuries, shaping national identity, making Japanese believe their country was literally indestructible. During World War II, Japanese pilots called themselves kamikaze, crashing into American ships, believing that, like in 1281, the gods would protect Japan in the end. They did not. Hiroshima and Nagasaki proved that gods did not protect Japan. The storms of 1281 were simply storms, meteorological coincidences, luck. But for 650 years, millions of Japanese believed, and that belief shaped a nation. Today, Tsushima is a peaceful island. Tourists visit beaches where 80 samurai died. Monuments and museums display replicas of Mongol armor and samurai katanas. But there are also memorials for the Mongols, Koreans, and Chinese. The 120,000 men who drowned in the Sea of Japan, soldiers who did not choose this war. The blood on Komoda beach dried centuries ago. Bones are buried. Ships rest at the ocean bottom. But questions remain. When is staying to die heroic? When is it foolish? What matters more, living with shame or dying with honor? 80 samurai against 20,000 Mongols. Impossible numbers. Ridiculous odds. Predictable outcome. But they stayed anyway. And 600 years later, we still speak of them.